Good evening, guys. It is time for the final Q&A session before the season starts. I've got a ridiculous number of questions here, close to 50. So I'm gonna stop talking and get on to them. Right, first question is, would you like to see a ride like Symbolica in the UK, and if so, at which park? Absolutely. I genuinely think the UK doesn't have enough decent dark rides, and one park in particular is really lacking dark rides. That would be Thorpe Park. So let's put it down there, shall we? What do you think will happen to Galactica with additions like Toxicator coming to Forbidden Valley? Good question. The rumour was that there was supposed to be a retheme happening, and then obviously Merlin's in a bit of sticky water right now, and budgets are getting cut left, right and centre. So supposedly that was scrapped. Personally, it feels out of place. And I don't think Toxicator is going to separate it. There was some thought that might make it not Forbidden Valley by the time you get to Galactica. I don't think that's going to happen. I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks or month. So yeah, if it's going to still be part of Forbidden Valley, they need to do something. I mean, I know they've done the Phalanx to death. Like it's a really immersive area, don't get me wrong. But it needs something. So maybe make it Phalanx. I mean, it says Air Command on the side of Nemesis, right? So there was obviously a plan to link the two at some point. The whole Phalanx Expo at the fireworks. There was definitely a plan. Whether it's just a pushback plan, whether it's actually going to happen, I'm pretty sure nothing has happened this close season. So yeah, I would just make it feel like it was part of the park and not this thing stuck on the side. Or scrap it and get a decent flying ride, like the Vekoma one. That would work too. If you could put any ride in your back garden for your own personal use, which one and why? I'm going to be kind of boring here and say Icon, just because I kind of like that ride. I mean, it's not the best ride out there, but I do enjoy it. As you all know, I love Blackpool, and that's coming up with some of the questions later on. And it's definitely my favourite ride there. So yeah, chuck Icon in my back garden. I mean, my garden's tiny, but if you can fit it in, that'd be great. What's your favourite food outlet in a UK park? Well, it's not going to be any of the Merlin ones, because all the Aramark stuff's kind of expensive and not that great. It doesn't leave a huge amount of parks. I'll go with Blackpool again. Big Pizza Kitchen's mediocre. Coasters, whatever it's called, up by the Big Dipper. That's reasonably good. Although I went in there once and asked for quesadillas, and the woman looked at me like I had two heads, and I had to call them quesadillas. So, yeah. Covering old ground here, but any updates on the Blackpool one-day non-rider entry? There's not, and I actually emailed them or I messaged them online as a kind of random person, just saying, hey, I saw that you had this season pass thing. Are you doing day tickets? And they didn't reply to me. So, I don't know. I mean, the fact that you can already buy tickets and it's not there does worry me. They keep doing more bargains on the season pass. In fact, they've got one right now at the time of recording, a payday deal to get the season pass for 120 quid. They've obviously now brought in Klarna so you can pay it up over installments and stuff. So they're doing stuff with the tickets, but there's not been any signs of it. So I would have thought by now we would have seen it. They may do some stuff in the summer, maybe when it's typically busier. Maybe that's what it is. They're leaving it till later in the year. I don't know. I'm curious how many people bought the non-rider season pass, and I'm hoping that wasn't the only experiment they do, because I don't think the season pass would be as popular as the day ticket. So, but no, I've heard nothing. Generic big question, what can the UK parks do to improve, as 2024 was a poor season on so many fronts: ride investment across certain parks, reliability at parks, comms from parks, food, experience, etc. I mean, all of that can be solved with money, right? Either investing in existing infrastructure, better food, better pricing, better ride offerings, better marketing budget to do the comms, and I just don't think that's going to happen, right? I think, Merlin are the best, or Towers at least are the best at the whole marketing thing, but we keep seeing that Merlin are kind of cutting back on things and laying people off and stuff, so they're obviously having budgetary issues there. Blackpool has never been one that's been like full of money, and they're obviously trying to do bits and pieces. I do think they have some stuff up their sleeve, but they're not exactly loaded. So I think money is what's needed to solve all the problems, and it's not there. So it'll be interesting to see. There's questions later on about Universal. I think that is, if that goes ahead, that's when things could get shaken up big time. What do you think about the Ice Blast re-theme? I'm curious, to be honest. I mean, it's an interesting theme. At first I was like, why is it not Viking themed? It's next to Valhalla. Somebody did point out, or quite a few people pointed out, it's right next to the flying machines, so the space thing's not that, like, outrageous. I don't know how much theming there's going to be. Like, you know, is there actually going to be any theming on this, or is it just going to be called Launchpad in a different colour scheme? Is it going to be an audio track? Like I did the equivalent of this in Wallaby Holland, and it had a nice kind of countdown before it launched you. So until we see the ride, it's kind of hard to tell what the re-theme, whether it's been successful or whether it's just a new name and a lick of paint, which it could very well be. What type of coaster do you enjoy the most? The more extreme, the better. I liked everything, to be honest. Launches, inversions, spinning. Yeah, there's not much I don't like. I'm cautious about things like the tilt coaster. I've obviously never been on one. Might get on one this year. We'll see. Favourite ride soundtrack? Do you know, that's actually, I don't normally pay too much attention to the soundtrack. Like, I do like a soundtrack on a ride. Actually, probably for that reason, I would say Ride to Happiness, because I think the soundtrack actually makes that. I think onboard audio is huge. I think more rides need onboard audio, and Ride to Happiness is fantastic, so let's go with that one. Do you think any Flambards rides will be relocated to other UK parks, and if so, where? I hope so, because it's always kind of sad when rides just get scrapped. I mean, they could go internationally, but it'd be good to keep them in the UK. I'm not that familiar with Flambards ride lineup, but I'm pretty sure it was more kind of family and kind of lower. So, I mean, Gulliver's likes to steal stuff when parks close, right? So maybe some of the Gulliver's parks, and they all need a bit of a refresh. I don't think Drayton's going to get it because, you know, they do their own thing. Maybe Lightwater Valley will steal some of them. Who knows? But yeah, listen, it's always sad when a park shuts down. Favourite park and roller coaster can be in different places. So favourite coaster at the moment is Guardians of the Galaxy. Absolutely love that thing. It is just spectacular. The whole package, fantastic. Favourite park? Now, interestingly, so I've just not that long back from Phantasialand, right? And I did a whole pile of videos about it, tips, ride review, vlog, hotel, the whole shebang. I really like the park. I think it is fantastic. I think it's really immersive. So many people have said the staff are really rude and blah, blah, blah. I haven't experienced that firsthand. So for me, at the moment, that is my favourite park. I have 15 new parks, I think, I'm hitting this year, at least. Most of them in the US in that big trip. And I've now finally booked Europa. So that could change. That could change. Favourite part at the start of the season? I mean, just being able to go to a park in the UK. Like, I really struggle in the closed season. Like, partly as a content creator, you know, I'm trying to find videos to do, and I'm like, where can I go? You know, obviously I went to Disney Paris in December, I went to Phantasialand this month. February, I can go to the half-term stuff. I was thinking about going out to Poland, but then Energylandia is just about to shut. In fact, I think it shuts this weekend. So yeah, I struggle with I miss being able to go to a park, so just the favourite part is seeing people again and being able to get on coasters, because I'm not going to travel to the US all the time in the closed season, and that's, you know, where a lot of them are. Obviously you've got Efteling and you've got other parks that are 365, but... Right, Ben has asked me about 40 questions. So, what in your opinion are your top 3 parks in America? Well, at the moment I've only done Florida, so it's probably not a great representation. Out of the ones I have done, I wasn't a fan of Busch Gardens. SeaWorld is good from a ride lineup. Islands of Adventure is great, and I'm going to say Epcot, and that a lot of people will be like, what are you talking about? Epcot's like really weak. I really like Guardians of the Galaxy, I've already said that. And I did like Test Track. I'm curious what it will be like when it comes back. But I suspect after I've been out there in the summer and visited 14 other parks, my list will probably change. Do you plan on going to Epic Universe when it opens? And if not, when do you? No, absolutely not. I can't think of anything worse than trying to fight my way through the crowds. Plus, I did see something. So initially it didn't sound like you could get a day ticket. You would have to be part of a bigger ticket, and then you'd have 1 day entry to Epic. I think I've seen something that says they will have a single day and they will have fast track. So maybe. I have no plans to go out to the US again this year, other than the main trip. I did say to my partner, maybe we could go out next year and do it. Again, nothing's confirmed. So I do want to get out there for sure, but it will not be this year. What UK ride, excluding Toxicator, are you most looking forward to riding again? Hyperia, actually, because I've only been on it once, so I can't really give it a good assessment of whether I like it or not. I still haven't made it my top UK coaster like a lot of people have, and I have now seen people disagree and saying it's not that great a coaster, so I want to get on it a couple more times and then we'll get back to Thorpe, hopefully a couple of times this year, and experience it again. What ride are you looking forward to going on that you haven't been on before? Voltron, that's easy. Voltron, now that I've booked Europa, definitely Voltron. If you could bring back any retired coaster for one more ride, what would it be? Probably the Ultimate, because I never got on it. I don't think it was a spectacular ride, but I'm really curious about it. You know, I mean, a ride built by British Rail, I just wish I'd got one shot on it, you know? Even if it is terrible, I would like to have tried that. So yeah, I'd bring that back. Favourite coaster and why, I think I've already said this, Guardians of the Galaxy, whole package. The music, the spinning, everything about it, just absolutely fantastic. Love it to bits. All day Infusion challenge when? Do you know I'm daft enough to do that? Let me know in the comments if you want to see me ride Infusion all day, because I'm daft enough to do that. Is Alpen Fury going to open on time, and if not, how late? To be honest, I'm not that close to the news on Alpen Fury. I'm pretty sure, well, it's still saying online when I checked 2025, right? I mean, that's a big timescale. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to run late, who knows? Curiously went with Premier Rides, because the rumour was it was initially going to be B&M. But be curious to see what that ride is like. Thoughts on the viability of towers? Is it a concern or not? Yes, I think it is. Not the park itself. I think the park will survive. I'm just curious whether Merlin will retain it as part of its portfolio. I mean, I know it's kind of like the biggest park, but so Universal coming along, it sounds like they're pumping all their money into Chessington because it's geographically closer. I've said this before, not massively, right? You're talking maybe 30 minutes closer. Towers is a weird one. I think they've got all the restrictions they've got because of the locals, which has caused them to be creative, and that has worked in a way for them. It is obviously a problem, coupled with the fact that it's not the easiest place to get to, right? There's no public transport, the roads to it are a nightmare. I hate driving to Alton Towers. Like, it's fine for me going all the way down the M74 and the M6, and then I just get lost, and then you end up on these country roads, and it's a nightmare. So you can't pick the park up and move it. So I don't know. I think the park itself, as I say, is fine. I just don't know if Merlin's still the right people to be running it. Biggest bucket list coaster? Well, I would have said Voltron, but I'm getting on that. So I'll pick something else. Probably something... Now, I've said I'm doing 2 weeks in the US, right? It's the Your Experience Guide trip. Scott's planned out a ridiculous number of parks. As I say, something like 14 parks. But whilst I'm out there, I've got 2 or 3 days at the end of my trip before I fly home, where I'm hoping to do Cedar Point. I haven't booked that yet, but I'm going to try and do Cedar Point whilst I'm there. And Top Thrill 2 or Siren's Curse, I said earlier, tilt coaster. If I can get on a tilt coaster, I guarantee I'll shit myself, but I'll do it because I spent years not going on the big one, and now I don't see why I didn't go on it. So, where do you stay when you go to parks in the UK from a fellow Scot? That depends where it is. So Blackpool, typically I do a day trip, right? It's 3 hours each way for me, so I just do that in a day. If I am staying, I mean, I like to stay in the Boulevard, nice hotel, bloody expensive. Quite often just stay in the, is it the Premier Inn outside? So there. If I'm doing the London parks, I mean, I did that day trip to Thorpe and I don't plan on doing that again, that was hell. What I have done in the past is flown down into Heathrow, stayed sort of at a hotel pretty much near the hotel, and then just driven or Ubered, because all the parks are quite close to that. Flamingo Land, I've stayed in York when I've gone down there. And that's probably about, oh, Drayton. I don't know if I've ever stayed. I think I've done Drayton as part of other trips. So yeah, I mean, that's about it, to be honest. Quite often, so I'm going down to Towers quite a few times actually in the next couple of months. One of them I haven't booked yet, hotel, so I'm staying on site for one trip. Another one I'm probably just going to find something on the motorway that's close, go down most of the way the night before, and then just do the last bit in the morning. I'm not that fussed. If I've got my partner with me, she likes a nice hotel. I'd sleep on bricks. I really don't care. Okay, this is a long one. Hi Chris, managed to conquer my fears of coasters this year at Towers thanks to your channel and some encouragement from my missus. Well done. I just backed out Oblivion and Smiler due to the vertical parts on both. My question is, you mentioned it took you a while to get over Smiler due to the vertical lift hill, yet at the time you had been on many more intense coasters. Can you elaborate what it was about the vertical part that knocked you off and how you overcame it? Yeah, the vertical bit was, I don't know why, in my head I just went, that looks horrific. And I'd done plenty inversions and spinning and tall coasters and all sorts of stuff. As I said earlier in this Q&A, for years I didn't do the big one either. I kept looking at it going, it's just that first drop. Once I'm past the first drop, it looks okay. It was actually my eldest daughter who, maybe 15 or 16 at the time, she just went, right, let's go on it. And of course, as a dad, I couldn't say no. So I went on it and I never looked back. In terms of the vertical lift hill, the first one I did was Rip Ride Rocket in Universal. Again, it was one of those, well, I'm over there. I can't easily get back here. I mean, I've been back a few times now. It's not exactly on my doorstep, so I was like, well, I'm here, I may as well do it, right? To be fair, my partner does that quite a lot. There's a lot of coasters she looks at and goes, no, but she'll be like, well, I'll at least try it. So I did Rip Ride Rocket. I still don't like a vertical lift hill, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm not a huge fan of them. But after doing that one, I was like, well, I can't not do the Smiler. It's not too bad. I mean, they feel slower than they are. But yeah, give it a go. And Oblivion, honestly, Oblivion is over so quick. I think from the top of the lift hill, in fact, even from leaving the station to getting back in again on the brake run is like a minute. It's tiny. It is so tiny. I get that it can be kind of intimidating, but it's over so quickly. And they no longer hold you at the top. So you get to the edge and you're down. Let me know if you try them. What is your favourite part of the Pleasure Beach specifically? Certain ride, atmosphere. Sorry it's so specific, love the channel. Do you know, it's a weird one. If you saw my video when I went to Wallaby Holland, I kind of said it's giving me Blackpool vibes and I don't like it. And the reason for that is that I persevere with Blackpool for nostalgic reasons, right? It's a park I visited as a child. You know, I've got loads of memories going there with my mum and dad. And then obviously now I've taken my own kids. So it's got more of a personal connection than specifically a ride or the atmosphere or anything like that. Because the park's changed a lot, right? And there's obviously a lot of people, myself included, concerned about it. And you know, is it going to survive? Is it going to turn things around, etc.? So it is nostalgia, basically. And when I see other parks that are comparable to Blackpool, and I don't have the nostalgic connection, I'm just like, well, it's a one and done. So there's your answer. You did a video of your plans for the year. Which trip is your most anticipated? Also, which new attraction are you most excited for? The US one for sure, right? I mean, that is a monstrous trip. I'm not looking forward to the flight because I'm literally on my Todd till I get there. That's a long flight. I think I might read this bad boy on the way because it's about, yeah, it's huge. So that's my entertainment. And then I've already said Voltron because I have now booked Europa with somebody that you'll recognise when I get there. Top 5 parks in Europe. That's a good question because I've not visited that many. I was trying to think of this before I turned the camera on. So Efteling and Phantasialand definitely up there. 100%. I suspect Europa will be because nobody's had a bad word about the place, but I've not been. Disney's alright. And I've not really been to many more. So I've been to Wallaby Holland and Plopsaland. Wasn't that impressed with them. Ride to Happiness is great, but the park, eh. Yes, I've still got tons to do. So I don't have 5 yet because I've not visited enough of them, but hopefully that will change. Right, Mike, you said to give you a challenge, and I said about doing all the Wimpies. You seemed up for the idea. How about starting 2025? Second question, what's your thoughts on the theme park? The Manchester water park that they're building. So the Wimpies, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm always up for a challenge. It's a little bit not theme park related. I mean, if I'm near a Wimpy, I'll go in because I can't remember the last time I had one, and I used to remember them being great. There was one in Scotland that may or may not still exist, where they actually served you like a restaurant. They came to your table, they took your order, it was plates, knife and fork, still the same food, but it was served like a restaurant and not fast food, which was quite interesting. So, now listen, if I'm near a Wimpy, I'll do it. I've got so much planned for the year that I can't just be travelling around the country visiting that. Plus, I'm not exactly the smallest lad, I don't need any more fast food. So, probably going to pass on that challenge, I'm afraid, Mike. In terms of the water park, listen, it's great to have more investment in the UK and new parks. You don't see a huge amount of water park stuff from me, partly because you can't film in a lot of it. It's just not my most anticipated. In fact, I am a little bit disappointed here though, because when I do Europa, I've got 2.5, 3 days. Is that right? Can't remember. And I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do it and Rolantica. And I really wanted to do Rolantica because everyone says that is like by far the best water park out there. So listen, if this opens, I'm sure I'll probably go and give it a try. And it's always great to see new things opening in the UK. What's your favourite theme park in Orlando? I'm going to say SeaWorld for the ride lineup. I wasn't that impressed with it as a park, but they've got some great coasters in there. If not that, it would be Islands of Adventure. Between those two. We typo here, but I kept it in deliberately. Iron Grazing or Velocicoaster? I mean, I love an Iron Grazing, and I actually like Gwazi as well. Both fantastic coasters, definitely both fantastic coasters, but Iron Gwazi is just batshit crazy from start to finish. Definitely the best RMC I've been on. Well, I've only been on 2. How would you fix Lightwater Valley? I actually don't know. So I said earlier I would have brought back the Ultimate because I never got on it. I've been on some of the rides that are shut, that kind of in the dark coaster. Didn't know I'd been on it, but I found pictures of me on it. So they've obviously, like a few parks, have gone down this family route now, and I mean, I guess it's working for them. So if that's the area that they're going for, then maybe put something like an Intamin multi-dimension, a bit like Drayton Manor's done, you know, something a bit more modern. But yeah, listen, it's not a park I've been back to since they made the decision to go family, because it just doesn't do it for me. I mean, I might visit it. I've looked at it and I'm just like, is there much? Like, if it was easy to get to, but that's kind of out my way, maybe I could do it. Is Flamingo Land not too far away from it? Like, I'd need to do another park as well, because it's just, but yeah. I mean, another option is just shut it down, but I don't want to see any parks go, so. What made you realise you loved roller coasters and wanted to keep on experiencing rides? So I've got a whole video on that, how I became the enthusiast, but I guess it became clear to me after my ex-wife and I broke up that I was using the kids as an excuse to go to theme parks. It wasn't the kids going, Dad, can we go to Blackpool? Can we go to Thorpe Park? Can we do this? It was me going, come on kids, let's go. And then I was like, hold on, I can just do this on my own. So I did, and I still do. Name something that you would like to see in more theme parks. Well, I mean, this might sound really stupid, but theming, like, people keep calling things like Blackpool a theme park. It's not, right? It's an amusement park. So obviously it's not intended to be themed. But I think when you compare certainly UK parks to European offerings, like I've taken my partner to Efteling and Phantasialand, and in both cases she's like, the UK's terrible. Like, it is so far behind. Yes, you've got pockets of it, like Forbidden Valley's really well done, but it's in isolation. The whole park isn't at that level. So yeah, theming is probably the obvious thing I would do more of in theme parks, because certainly in the UK we don't do it very well. What's your favourite roller coaster attraction at Towers, and do you think Toxicator and eventually Horizon will be better than that? I mean, look, I've got a soft spot for Nemesis. I think I've told this story many times before, but effectively it was one of the coasters. I went on it, maybe its first year or not far after. It was certainly in the early 90s or mid 90s, and I almost bottled it. But I'd stood in the queue for a couple hours and I was like, right, I'm going to do it. And I did it and I loved it. So I still have that soft spot for it. Yes, people go, it's rattly now, it's not as good as the original. I still like it. I still like it. Toxicator, I mean, I've said this already, if it's got a comparable cycle to Talican in terms of intensity, then I think it'll be fantastic. It's not the kind of ride you can do over and over and over again though. Like, you probably do it maybe a couple of times on a visit, once or twice. You're not going to sit. Don't ask me to do an all-day Toxicator challenge because it's not happening. I will probably end up with a split and sore head. And Horizon, I mean, I guess it depends what that ends up being, right? I don't think it's, I think Horizon's still on the horizon. I think it's just been pushed back a little bit. And also, do you watch Digitized Daniel? Doesn't everybody? I mean, he's got 103,000 subscribers these days, so yes, I'm one of them. I am subscribed to Digital Dan. Are there any coasters or rides that you get really nervous about riding whilst queuing up for them, past or present? And are you like me and constantly rattle the restraints, worrying that they're secure? I mean, I said earlier, I used to worry about the big one and took forever to get over that. Similarly with the Smiler, took forever to get over that. Nowadays, there's really not much. As I said, the tilt coaster thing, I'm really nervous about trying. Falcon's Flight is another one. I've got a friend that lives in the Middle East, and I sort of joked to him, I was like, oh, I might come out and see you, and then he's like about an hour away from the parks. I was like, oh, and he does things like hanging off the Burj Khalifa and stuff, like he's a nutcase. And I was like, oh, would you do this coaster with me? And he's like, I'll let you go on it first. And I thought, what? So there's probably are some limits, but yeah. In terms of rattling the restraints, no, I don't. Not for me personally. For some reason, if I ever go on Galactica and I've got my kids with me, I'm always paranoid about them falling out, not me. And I know how these things work, right? But if you saw my recent video, the one with unbelievable things that happen in theme parks, you'll see that not that long ago in America, some restraints did open and a guy climbed out on the lift hill. So yeah, that's a bit terrifying. Oh, do you think Falcon's Flight will open on time, i.e. May? And if so, do you think it will be operational for long? Also, do you have any trips to the States this year for the likes of Epic's Universe and maybe Cedar Point and all the other great parks out there? So, Falcon's Flight, it's a curious one. I didn't know when it was predicted to open other than this year. I saw Sean's interviews with the two chaps out there, and one of them said that they were about to start doing the testing and commissioning and that was a 9-month process. Now, I just assumed that was 9 months from the time that Sean released the video, but I don't know how far in advance he'd filmed that, edited it, and put it up, because that would have taken it to around about September. So I just assumed either the park's going to open late in 2025 or it will open without its headline attraction, and that will be later. I don't think anyone's spotted any testing yet or them pulling the train through. To be fair, you know, they obviously have to do the pull through for clearance and stuff, and that's a massive track. So, and they'll need huge cranes to pull it up that giant airtime hill. So I don't know. As I say, I'm not going out there this year. As far as US ones, as I've said, I'm in the US for 2 weeks doing a ridiculous number of parks. There's a video up with my plans that has the list of them because I've forgotten them all. There's like Six Flags Great America, Great Adventure, Six Flags America, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Hershey Park, and a bunch of others that I've forgotten. So I will be out in the US, and I think it's something like 80 credits. It's a ridiculous number of new rides, so I am buzzing for that trip. Last meal on Earth, starter, main, and dessert. Christ. Right, this isn't going to sound like a very cohesive meal. Starter, the only thing that comes to mind would be something like a bruschetta. Main, maybe like fajitas or an enchilada, something Mexican, hence this isn't going together very well. And dessert, I'd either do a sticky toffee pudding or a chocolate fudge cake. So that is the most random selection of 3 courses. There you go. Of the UK parks, which one will be most negatively affected by Universal GB? Also, I love the history videos Have you considered History of Gullivers? That's a really good question, and I think, look, the big guys like Merlin, they're probably going to be all right. I think they might struggle a bit, but they're either going to sell off some assets or do stuff. They'll be fine. It's the little guys, but I think I've said this before, it'll really depend on the price point of Universal. I mean, like, the parks in the UK now are what, 40, 50 quid a day? There's absolutely no danger that Universal will be that. I mean, you look at America, it's like 100 odd quid a day at least. So you're talking, what, let's say it was £100 for a day ticket to Universal, which probably will be more than that. Your towers and stuff aren't even in the same price point. You know, the people who can't afford to go to Universal that will still keep going to these other parks. So unless Universal does go, we need to go cheap to compete in the UK, then there's a risk to quite a few parks, but I don't know. I think they're going to be such a distinct offering that the other parks probably won't feel too much heat, but they might try and keep up. I hope they try and keep up because they need a kick up the jacksie. Oh, and then your second bit about Gullivers. Possibly. I'm still trying to get this Flamingo Land one done. I've not forgotten about it. I have got some stuff. I'm just struggling to find time right now. So maybe once that one's out of the way, I'll be asking what the next one people want to see is. Is a wooden coaster as classy as Megaphobia wasted at Oakwood? I've never been to the park or on the coaster, but I think the answer is yes. And the reason I say that is because the park is so out there for most people, it doesn't get a lot of footfall, and yet everybody I know who has been on Megaphobia, especially since it got the retrack work last year, has said it is fantastic. So I want to go on that coaster. It's just a pain to get to, and it's not even like there's other parks nearby. So yeah, I do feel like it's wasted on them. Or they need to do some more to make it enough of a draw to bring people, because it is so out of the way. So I'd like to get on it though. Definitely want to get on it. What are you most looking forward to in theme parks this year? And also, has there been anywhere that the food has blown you away, good or bad? PS loving the videos and seeing the subs go up in the background. I'd love to see it go up. I mean, I'm one away from that turning to 6,700. It goes up in tens, so you never know, it might actually go up during this video.
Five minutes later.
Maybe not. So what was I most looking forward to in theme parks this year? Well, personally, my trip to America. There's nothing immediately springing to mind. I've got a mental blank in terms of what news there is this. Well, yeah, I mean Epic Universe, but I'm not going to experience that firsthand. And then, has there been anywhere the food has blown you away, good or bad? I'm probably going to say Phantasialand actually. The food there was really, really good. Definitely not what you would anticipate from a theme park, and not even close to the crap you get in a Maryland park. So I'm going to go with that. Again, still got tons of parks to experience firsthand, so there's probably some others out there. Do you have any any tips for doing Thorpe Park and Chessington weekend trip? I've not visited either park. That's a tricky one. I mean, I get why people do weekend trips. I do it myself. But as we all know, weekends are typically when everybody else does it, so it's the busiest period. What I would say is try and avoid the obvious ones. Don't go Easter, don't go in the summer. And actually just before the Easter, so it depends, like summer. The summer holidays start up here in Scotland at the end of June. So the last week of June, school's shut. England, I think, has another 2 weeks, and so I always think, oh, I'll go down then because England's still at school. What I forget is that it's common in England to have trips to theme parks in the end of term. So I've made that mistake a few times and been burned by school trips. So don't do that, although obviously schools aren't on a Saturday and Sunday. The parks are reasonably close together in terms of if you've got a car, so I've done it where I've flown into Heathrow and then driven around. I've also done it where I've driven down and used my own car. And maybe just be prepared for a fast pass if it turns out you've picked a bad weekend, would be my only thing. I know fast pass isn't cheap, and I know there's lots of people that are against fast pass, but you know, if you've travelled specifically for a park that you're not likely to be back at again, and there's lots of things to do, and it's really busy, and you can afford it, because I appreciate not everybody can, then always just say consider the fast pass. I'm pretty sure they have it that you can do single shot. So if there's like one attraction you're struggling to get on, you could just pay, I want to say it's a tenner for a single shot. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, fingers crossed, you pick a good weekend and you enjoy both parks. What defunct ride would you most want to bring back in the UK? I think I've already had a similar question and I said the Ultimate. And that is actually it. Oh my god, I'm actually finished. And it's only been about half an hour, that's less than I expected. So as always, thank you so much to everybody who has asked me a question, and hopefully I have answered them all. If anybody did ask a question and I didn't get to it, it's not intentional. I've definitely tried to cover them all. I can't stop the questions being asked on YouTube, so if you ask them after now when I'm filming, sorry. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, help that number go up a little bit. I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios!